Hood. That is the name. That is the rookie. And that is the problem for everybody sleeping on the Giants. First, rookie minicamp just started the first wave of impressions. Then, Hood stopped looking like a normal developmental pick. And then, the bigger question hit. Is he already forcing the staff to rethink the secondary? By the end of this video, you will know exactly why this matters. Big Blue lock-in. Breaking news from the facility. And this one is not about hype for the sake of hype. The Giants have a rookie defensive back, Hood, already being viewed as more than just a long-term project. That matters because this secondary needs youth, competition, and answers that last longer than one season. Real talk before we dive in. Eagles fans, Cowboys fans, and Commanders fans love acting like Big Blue is stuck waiting around. No. If you want a Giants channel built by Big Blue, for Big Blue, hit subscribe right now. Every sub is a flag planted at MetLife Stadium. Comment, "Let's go Giants," and let every rival fan lurking here feel it. Now let's get into story one, because the first layer is simple. The Giants are creating competition, and Hood is already making that competition uncomfortable. Here's where this starts. Rookie minicamp is not the final exam. It is the first room. It is the first setting where young players start making impressions, learning expectations, and showing the staff who walks in ready. And Hood walked into that room with a different kind of attention. The early headline is that a Giants rookie is already forcing his way into a bigger role. That rookie is Hood, a defensive back who entered as a potential draft value piece, not as a guaranteed instant answer. That distinction matters. A normal developmental pick gets patience. He gets time. He gets protected from expectations. The fan base hears the name, nods, and moves on. But the wording around Hood is different. He is already being viewed as more than just a developmental draft pick. That is the first signal. The Giants' secondary needs more youth. It needs more competition. It needs long-term answers. Those are not decorative words. That is the entire reason this story has teeth. When a rookie defensive back starts pushing early in a room that needs fresh competition, the coaching staff has to pay attention. Not because a job was handed to him, because a door opened. And in the NFL, once a rookie starts walking through a door early, the entire room feels it. Veterans feel it. Other young players feel it. Coaches feel it. The depth chart starts getting less comfortable. Now, here is the truth nobody is telling you. This is not only about Hood. This is about the Giants building a roster where young players are not asked to wait politely. If you show you belong, you push. If you push, you force conversations. That is the difference between watching any channel and watching this one. Big Blue Nation knows what a real fight looks like. New York Tough is not a slogan here. It is the standard. And if Hood is already making the staff think earlier than expected, then his name belongs in the conversation right now. Personal opinion here. I think this is exactly the kind of rookie pressure the Giants needed. Not because Hood has already locked anything down, but because the secondary needed someone young to make the room less comfortable. That is my read. Disagree? Drop your reasoning below. But wait, because story 2 is bigger. Story 1 is the door opening. Story 2 is Hood stepping through it. And this is where the nice pick label starts to look outdated. Now, what most channels miss is the label change. A rookie can be praised and still be viewed as a future piece. A rookie can be liked and still be safely buried in the developmental bucket. That is normal. Hood is already pushing against that bucket. The main story is clear. Rookie defensive back Hood is being viewed as more than just a developmental draft pick. That is the key phrase. Not a camp body. Not just a stash. Not just a long-term idea. More than developmental. That does not mean the Giants have declared him a finished product. The source does not say that. But it does mean his early standing is stronger than the quiet rookie treatment many late value pieces get. He was viewed as a potential draft steal, and now the question has grown. Is he already pushing for snaps earlier than expected? That is where the Giants roster theme becomes important. This team is trying to create competition across the roster. Rookie minicamp is the first stage, but the meaning goes beyond one practice setting. If a young defensive back brings energy into a secondary that needs youth and long-term answers, he becomes more than depth. He becomes leverage. Leverage on the room. Leverage on the future. Leverage on the coaches to keep evaluating instead of assuming. And that is the kind of pressure fans should want. Not fake hype. Not manufactured drama. Real competition. The kind where a rookie forces the conversation before fans even realize what is happening. The Eagles, Cowboys, and Commanders do not wait for the Giants to figure things out. They attack weaknesses. So Big Blue cannot treat secondary competition like a side project. Hood matters because he fits a real need. Youth, competition, and longer-term answers. Film does not lie. When the need and the player's early push line up, you pay attention. That is chess, not checkers. I will say it, and I know some of you will push back. In my opinion, Hood becoming more than a developmental pick is the most important rookie storyline on this roster right now. Not the loudest, the most important, because secondary growth changes how the whole defense can breathe. Tell me I am wrong. Now I want your take. Comment roll if Hood should be pushed toward a bigger role early. Comment wait if the Giants need to slow it down. No middle ground. Make me defend my position. Quick reminder, if you are still here, you are Big Blue for real. Hit subscribe, because story 3 is the one. What is coming next is the real question. Not whether Hood is interesting. Not whether rookie minicamp matters. The question is whether the coaching staff is already being forced to think bigger. That is the bomb. Now, this is what you have really been waiting for. The story that flips the entire frame. The one I told you about at the start. The one that takes Hood from nice pick to something much more dangerous. Here it is. Every year, one rookie starts off as a nice pick. Fans like the value. The name gets filed away. People say, good selection, and then they move to the louder headlines. Then suddenly, that same rookie is pushing for real playing time before fans even realize what happened. For the Giants, that name is Hood. That is the core of the story. Hood was viewed as a potential draft steal, but the question is bigger now. Is he already forcing the coaching staff to think about a larger role in the secondary? That wording is everything. Because the story is not saying Hood is simply present. It is not saying he is just another young player in the building. It is saying the staff may need to think about something larger than the original expectation. That is a real shift. Now connect this to story 1 and story 2. Story 1 told us rookie minicamp is the first setting where these young players start making impressions. That means Hood's early push is happening at the very beginning of the process. Story 2 told us Hood is already being viewed as more than just developmental. That means the internal lens around him is not passive. The Giants are not treating him like background noise. Now story 3 tells us the real consequence. The coaching staff has to consider whether his role grows sooner than fans expected. That is how a depth chart starts moving. Not through a press conference. Not through fan polls. Through a young player forcing the staff to keep asking questions. And this is especially important because of the position. Defensive back is not a luxury conversation for the Giants. The secondary needs more youth, more competition, and long-term answers. That is straight from the heart of the story. So when Hood pushes, he is not pushing in a crowded area where the Giants already have every answer. He is pushing in a place where the team needs solutions. That is why I am locked in on this. A rookie defensive back who is merely fine does not change the conversation. A rookie defensive back who flashes enough to be viewed as more than developmental changes the temperature in the room. That affects how the staff evaluates reps. It affects how teammates respond. It affects how fans should watch every update from the secondary. And it affects how we talk about the Giants' long-term roster build. Big Blue cannot keep chasing temporary fixes forever. At some point, the G-men need young players to hit. They need draft value to turn into real snaps. They need competition that actually raises the floor of the room. Hood is now the name attached to that possibility. And no, I am not going to water that down. I am going on record right now. In my opinion, if Hood keeps forcing this bigger role conversation, he becomes the rookie who changes the Giants' defensive timeline the fastest. Not because he is the biggest name, but because his position matches one of the roster's clearest needs. Hold me to this. Save the timestamp. Convince me I am wrong. Now you have your answer to the question I asked earlier. Comment roll if you want Hood pushed early. Comment wait if you want patience. Drop it in the comments right now. And if this analysis hit, like the video. That is how we keep the algorithm pushing real Giants breakdowns instead of recycled noise. Because this is the part rivals hate. The Eagles want the Giants' secondary to stay uncertain. The Cowboys want Big Blue chasing answers. The Commanders want the G-men stuck developing slowly. But if Hood accelerates the process, even a little, that changes the conversation. No fake guarantees. No invented depth chart. Just a rookie defensive back, a roster need, and a coaching staff that now has to keep watching. That is how surprise rolls begin. 3 stories. 1 picture. Here is what it all means together. The Giants are not just watching rookies go through routine minicamp motions. They are building competition across the roster, and Hood has become the early name worth tracking in the secondary. First, rookie minicamp created the opening. Then, Hood moved beyond the developmental label. Now, the bigger role question is on the table. That is the progression. And for Big Blue, That matters because the secondary needs exactly what this story represents: youth, pressure, and long-term answers. You do not beat the Eagles, Cowboys, and Commanders by hoping the same problems disappear. You beat them by finding value before they are ready for it. Listen, the next video is going deeper on what Hood's rise means for the Giants' secondary competition. If you are Big Blue for real, subscribe now and hit the bell, because YouTube does not always show you the next breakdown unless you tell it to. Drop your final answer below, roll, or wait. But listen closely. One decision is still pending. The Giants have not made the final call on how far Hood's early push goes. That answer comes through the next wave of evaluations, and every update from the secondary now matters more. And the rivals are watching. Eagles fans are watching. Cowboys fans are watching. Commanders fans are watching. They want this to be nothing. They want Hood to stay quiet. Big Blue should want the opposite. Because if Hood keeps rising, the G-Men just found a rookie who was supposed to be a value piece and turned him into a real pressure point. That is how good teams get younger. That is how competition becomes production. That is how a nice pick becomes a name nobody ignores. Big Blue, the battle is here. Hood is on the radar. The secondary fight is alive. And Giants Daily is where we decode what it really means. Subscribe, stay locked, and drop your final answer below. Let's go Giants. We ride together.